question.
David, I know we've asked you some version of this about 100 times already, but is there anything about today where you've come into the stadium, stepped out onto the field, and had this realization that, okay, I'm now running the team that I grew up loving?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I thought about it before I went to bed last night. Thought about it driving in this morning, pulling in. So absolutely, that's run through my mind a lot over the last 24 hours.
I asked Carlos this as well, but aside from the results early this season, is there a specific thing that you are watching for to say, okay, we're on the right track as a group?
I think early in the season, you want to see a team camaraderie and a team energy that you think is consistent and that can lead to winning baseball. And I felt like we had that in spring training, and so I'm eager to see how we carry that over into the regular season. Clearly, you always want to play clean baseball. I think we have a team that is capable of playing clean baseball, and so I'll be looking for that as well.
Pat?
David, you were confident in this team that you put together a playoff team prior to signing JD Martinez. Now that he's with the organization, what does that do for your expectations and the club's expectations moving forward?
I think JD's a nice fit for us, and we're looking forward to having him here. I also have a lot of confidence in the rest of the guys on the roster. I think it's a team that hopefully will complement all the different pieces pretty well, and JD's going to be a really nice part of that.
Tim?
Which one?
Pick.
What did you learn about your team in spring training?
We're trying not to make too many evaluations in spring training. I think I was impressed by the work ethic, how the guys came together, how our coaching staff came together. We have a lot of new faces in there, including me, including our manager. And so spring training is a great time for everyone to get to know each other, and I think that went very well.
And what did you learn about Carlos in particular in spring?
I think it was just a continuation of everything that we learned about him through the interview process, through the offseason. He's a very good communicator. He has the ability to talk to all sorts of different people associated with the organization, and he takes that part of his job very seriously, and I think that's a very important part of his job.
Tim times 2.
Carlos mentioned that Reed Foley had an MRI on his shoulder.
Yeah.
What did that show?
He's got an impingement in his shoulder. It's not something that we think is, I think, overly serious. But clearly it was serious enough where he and our medical staff felt he couldn't pitch right now. And I'm certainly glad he said something after the workout rather than trying to gut through this into the regular season.
Laura?
When you look at the various components of the team you've constructed, where do you see your biggest source of strength?
Biggest
Source of strength.
I think the depth that we have throughout the roster is what I'd point to. We understand how important it is to construct not only a 26-man or a 40-man, but really give yourself the ability to go 50, 60 deep over the course of the year. And I think we've constructed a group that should give us a chance to do that. And we also understand that roster construction never really ends. We'll continue to try to improve our team, improve our depth, and improve our organization even as we get into the regular season.
Abby?
Based on what you've seen from Starling Marte in spring training, I know we asked you before if it was realistic or what the realistic expectations were. Now that you've seen him in spring training, do you have expectations, and what are they for him this season?
Look, he's a healthy player, and I think that's a really good start. And I'm not going to put any arbitrary expectations on what we're going to get this year, but I'm really happy he's healthy. I know he feels good. He's in a confident place right now, and that's what's most important right now.
Peter?
Just how meaningful is it for you to have the Harrelson family and be able to celebrate his career a lot this season?
I think it's meaningful for our organization, and this is a person who is arguably one of the more beloved Met figures of all time, someone who impacted multiple generations of Met fan bases in a very impactful way. And so to have his family here today, to be able to commemorate him with a patch throughout the season, I think it's important for us. I'm glad we're doing it.
Tyler?
Maybe one of your old team, of course, is across the way, and a question about them, like Churio will be making his debut. What do you remember about the excitement within your old organization about him as he came through the system?
Yeah, I think really from the point when the international scouting group over there started scouting him, there was real excitement about what he could become. And he has done just an incredible job working very hard throughout his development, taking instruction really well, and getting better every single year. So, I don't know that anyone could ever predict someone getting to the big leagues at this young of an age, but if you were ever going to do it, you might do it on that guy because of who he is and how he works, combined with an immense talent level. It was a pretty good combination.
Tony?
Now that Senga has begun playing catch again, what is maybe an updated or revised expectation for how long this process will take?
I think we probably need to get a little bit farther into his throwing program before we're able to provide a concrete time frame. But we're making good progress, and probably another, week or two, we can probably map out a real throwing program and get a sense of when he can be back on a major league mound.
Joe?
To that point, how do you see the rotation potentially holding up without Senga throughout these early portions here?
Well, we have confidence in the five that we have slotted into our rotation right now. We have confidence in the guys in AAA. We have to make some really tough decisions at the end of camp to send guys down. And we have guys with major league experience who have had success up here. And we also have some pretty good young arms who are starting in the AAA rotation, some of whom I would expect are going to impact our club this year.
Pat?
You mentioned those arms in AAA, David. You said you wanted to see them pitch in your system this year now that you're here. How much do you need to see from them? How long do you think before you think they could start maybe impacting the big league club this season?
I don't know. I think it's always a case-by-case basis, and it's always a combination of where a player is in his specific development and what are the needs are of the major league team. And so these are really tough things to plot out or map out, but certainly we're cognizant that we've got some talented arms down there. I'm eager to see how they take to the AAA challenge. And then I would expect that at least some of them will make their way up here at some point during the season.
Tim?
Tyler mentioned it, but what do you think of your first game with your new team coming against your old team?
Yeah, it's a little unique, but it's fun to see some of those guys over there. Obviously, I have some tremendous relationships, have a lot of respect for what they do, what they've built, and have great friendships over there. So it's fun to see them. Certainly hope we beat them, but it's good to see them over there.
When did you realize the schedule looked that way?
So I think shortly after it became public that I was taking the job, someone mentioned it to me. I think that's when I first knew.
Abby?
Similar lines, just what is this day like for you? Like, what kind of emotions are you feeling facing your old team, but with the new team that you did kind of grow up rooting for?
You know, I don't know that facing the Brewers necessarily impacts the emotions today. This is an exciting day, and opening days are always exciting. Great day for reflection about the game, about sort of the prospects ahead. So I always enjoy opening day. Certainly being able to do it in this organization now for the first time in this position brings a little bit extra meaning to it.
Rich?
When you look at your bullpen, obviously a huge deal is Edwin Diaz is back, but you also brought a lot of bridge guys in the offseason. How do you feel about that depth and the options that it gives the manager on how to choose how to bridge from the starter to Diaz?
Yeah, I feel good about that. And I've talked about this before. The best bullpens often evolve over the course of a season. So we don't exactly know how all those pieces are going to fit together. And I would imagine there are going to be some pieces that we're not even talking about right now that over the course of the year end up making a pretty large impact in our bullpen. But when you have someone like Edwin at the back end, and then we have the various options we have, all of whom have pretty good arms. I'm confident that we're going to be able to put together a good pen over the course of the year.
Thank you very much, David.
Thanks.
At this time, we'd like to invite